What do you know? You don't know nothing, huh?
I know plenty.
Name one thing you know, huh?
I know so much, it's going to make your head spin.
Oh, yeah. Is that the way it's going to be, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you know?
Yeah,
Huh?
I don't think you know anything. Yeah.
I don't think you know anything.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I think you're dumb, huh? Oh, you like that bird?
You want to take this outside?
That's right. Let's go outside. I'm going to smack my wife around. Right in the lawn like I like to do it.
I think that's the law that you have to.
It is the law. If I'm going to smack you, I have to make a public spectacle.
If you have to smack somebody around, you have to do it in front of everybody.
Okay, I think that's a good rule. Is that a gritty reboot rule, or is that just a rule for life in general?
I have no idea.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gritty Reboot.
I didn't realize that we were on.
Yeah, we've been recording for like a minute while we've been talking about smacking each other around.
Wow.
Yeah, we are officially 3 minutes. 2.5 minutes into the show now.
Very well.
Yeah. Lies, only a minute, but hey, who cares?
All right. So we've got ourselves a treat this week.
I think so. Before we get into the movies, I want to talk about something that we just kind of stumbled upon too that I really enjoyed. Last night we went to the Coyote Drive-In and we got to see The Menu.
Yep.
With Anya Taylor-Joy and Nicholas Hoult and Ray Fiennes. My brain wanted so hard in the back of my head that intrusive thought was like, say Ralph Fiennes.
I always want to call him Rupert.
Rupert? Why Rupert? That's not his name.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
he
weird.
looks like a Rupert.
Does he?
Yeah.
I never really thought, like, hey, that's a Rupert-looking son of a bitch. I've never thought that looking at Ray Fiennes, or Ralph Fiennes, if you will. But first of all, we're not going to spoil anything in the movie. So I'm looking right at you, spoiler. No,
all right. I'm not saying anything.
my wife is sexually aroused by spoiling films for others.
Whatever.
It's true. But we really didn't know a lot about the movie going in. I think we'd kind of seen the trailer. I'm a big Anya Taylor-Joy fan. I've loved her work since The Witch. And just the movie sort of intrigued me. So walking into it cold, it was nice to experience it without having a lot really ruined by the trailers, other than, I knew to be in store for something. And that's really all I'm going to give you guys. But in all honesty, it's a film that really executes and really loves its concept and goes all the way through with it, in my opinion, and makes for a very fun ride. With some very nice moments, and like I said, not giving away anything. But if I was going to give it a numerical score, I'd give it probably 14 sizzles out of 8.
What is a sizzle?
I have no idea. I just don't like giving numerical scores. Here, I'll give it a B+. How's that?
Yeah, that works.
B+? All right.
Yeah, I think that's a fair rating for that movie.
Yeah, very cool. It was nice to see something like that. And by the way, we saw it at a drive-in as well. You want to talk about the drive-in a little bit?
Yeah, the drive-in we go to is located in downtown Fort Worth. So it's got the cityscapes surrounded by the drive-in itself. It's a unique place because you can bring your children to have like an area for...
Yeah, no, I thought you could talk about what you liked about it. You're like, here's the thing about this place. And you just went into like an ad, like they're sponsoring the show for some reason. You can bring your children, you can bring your dog, you can bring your grandma, you can bring anybody down here. Have a county drive in every Friday night. I mean, you just went for it. You really did.
You asked me to talk about it.
I said, hey, what do you like about this place? And you just go off on a tirade.
Okay. Okay.
Show's off to a good start, guys. Okay.
Okay, so what do I like about it? Oh, I like the digital quality of the movies.
Oh, yeah. That is actually a really solid thing to mention, is that despite it being like outdoors and a drive-in theater, I think the movie looked really good.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to it via your radio, but there wasn't any like distortion or crackling or anything like that. Really clean signal. And the movie sounded good. We have Bose speakers in your car, and those really came into play right there. The movie sounded very nice when we cranked it up. Or like I said, I was looking for, where's the audio distort or anything like that. And, it sounded very nice.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it really was. And we went out and it was kind of rainy too. So we had to overcome that. We still had a really good time because there was rain. Usually there's food trucks and stuff out there, which I always like the roulette of like what's going to be out there. Am I going to get taco options, falafel? Who knows? I'm willing to take that risk. Every now and then you get a guy out there who serves gyros. You just don't know. But they didn't have any food trucks because of the rain, so that's the only disappointment. I'm a huge sucker and mark for food trucks. Boy, I really hope the recorder's going throughout all this, because this was all good stuff.
Yeah.
Glances down. I got a new recorder, guys, so I'm really hoping it's working. If you only hear one of us, I'm sorry, but we're not re-recording.
Okay, so what are we talking about this week?
I have no idea.
We are talking about 2 movies that are disasters in their own way.
Very true. Today we are taking a look at, by the way, 20th episode spectacular.
Oh,
We
yeah.
didn't mention it at all. We've reached 20 episodes. Does anybody care? No, but we do.
care.
Yeah, no. So every 20th episode, or not every 20th episode, for every 10 episodes, we're going to try to do something a little bit different. And today is going away from the gritty reboot formula, and we are talking about 2 similar blockbusters Hollywood released in the same year. And this year we are going with a pair of lava-infested flicks, Dante's Peak versus Volcano.
Yeah.
And so first up, we're going to talk about Volcano, correct?
Yeah, we're talking about Volcano first, 1997.
Okay. So this came out in the year of our Lord, 1997. And for some reason, we got 2 of these movies within the year. Which one came out first? Dante's Peak hit first, correct?
Yeah, Dante's Peak was 3 months before Volcano.
Audiences already had a chance to dip their toe into the volcano waters before. And so
people love Dante's Peak.
And Volcano, I can tell you, I can remember when these movies were released. Critical consensus was a bit higher on Dante's Peak. Wasn't through the roof, but it was higher. Volcano was a much schlockier picture, to say the least, and reviews weren't as kind. So box office was a little soft for Volcano. But be that as it may, I did go and see Volcano, and it wasn't a raucous crowd, to say the least. It was a movie that I appreciated for some cheesiness back then, and that's about all the value I could find in it this time as we rewatched it.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as I liked Dante's Peak.
Yeah. So I mean, let's get into it. This movie is first off, I want to talk about one thing before you even start about talking about the movie, is the marketing. What you look at the poster, what do you see? A volcano right in downtown LA, right? What do you see? My wife's blank face.
I totally forgot what the picture looked like.
The poster?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is the poster. You can Google it now. It's on your phone. It's fine. It's just on the internet. It's free. It's out there. So anyway, if you take a look at that poster, it has a volcano in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And that is not an image that we get in this movie, correct?
Yeah, there's really no volcano.
This could be called lava.
Yeah, it could just be called lava.
It should just be called lava, because it's basically Tommy Lee Jones' effort to scream his way around lava in
lava shoot.
This is how the movie begins. We have some geologists cooked, right?
Yeah, actually it starts with some city workers.
Oh, city workers. That's who it is. I'm sorry.
City workers are in a sewage area, and there's a bunch of steam, and one of the guys comes up and he's all burned. And there's other guys inside the sewage area. What do you call it?
Sewer? Yeah.
Sewer.
Sewer. Okay.
Sewage area.
Sewage area. The area of sewers. Meredith's got the sillies to start this show. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
This is making for terrible radio.
Yeah. Breathe in, breathe out.
All right.
Bring in the love, push out the jive.
All right.
So, yeah, we get a pretty common cliche. Both movies do kind of weirdly start with some people just sort of getting cooked. But this is how this movie begins. So this is a movie that is supposed to sort of be about the city.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's really about just Tommy Lee Jones, right? This is a typical pattern of disaster movies, is that you just pick a character in this disaster area and you follow him around, right?
And he has a daughter that's like the most annoying daughter ever.
He does. And that's played by young Gabby Hoffman.
Yeah.
She was later in Transparent. That was on Amazon. And she's fantastic in that. And she's fine here. She's not the problem. No, she's not the problem at all. But she is playing a very annoying character in the least. And just basically her being there gives us an excuse for a subplot, which is her dealing with her injuries at the hospital.
Yeah.
Something that gets us away from the main action. Because we have 3 main plots, right? We have Tommy Lee Jones, what he's doing with Anne Heche. Sometimes Anne Heche goes away for a little bit and comes back to the main plot. Then you have Don Cheadle back at the station. sort of central command, and
Yeah.
then you have the hospital storyline once everything gets going.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess out of all those, what's your favorite of those or what's your least favorite of those story angles?
I don't like the daughter storyline.
You don't like that one?
Yes, I just can't stand the daughter storyline.
Yeah,
she's such an annoying character.
Yeah, every time she really appears on screen, it does slow the movie down.
Yeah.
I don't want to say immensely, but her scenes usually are luckily they move pretty quickly for the most part, but there's so many of them that just kind of hang around doing nothing. Like where she has to like do something in the hospital, make sure this guy doesn't get wounded or wherever. And it just, I know it gives us a movement to breathe away from the lava action with Tommy Lee Jones, but it's not like it gives us anything else to really sink our teeth into. It's just
like
kind of there to waste our time.
Somebody has to take care of all the kids. Who's going to take care of all the kids? Oh, this teenage girl, she'll do it.
Yeah, a perfect job for a teenage girl.
Yeah.
I just feel like a writer was like, we like our focus groups tell us we need to put in a female daughter if we're going to have a male older lead. And so that's what they gave them to sort of soften Tommy Lee Jones out. And so they had to give her some storylines to make the character worthwhile, and it doesn't amount to much, sadly.
There are 45 real-life reporters and journalists playing themselves in this movie.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. There are a lot of scenes that have the news on in the background.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
You know how I feel about this thing in movies where we have to have real reporters tell us the news. And I've been critical of Zack Snyder in the past for using real reporters and real news broadcast in those movies, and like Man of Steel and the Justice League films, for using that. And I don't think it really adds anything to a movie, to be perfectly honest. I don't think it helps you set it in the world, especially when you overuse it. I prefer other ways of getting information to the viewer than just having a news broadcaster say like, the buildings are on fire, New York's coming down, the lava is destroying, Rodeo Drive or whatever.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills is in flames. Maybe something a little bit more than that, I guess. It just doesn't really work for me at all. It doesn't sell me on, oh, we're in the real world, especially when the movie's so goddamn ridiculous.
It's pretty prevalent in the movie, the news.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
like news coverage and...
But this is just a general pet peeve I have with cinema in general when they use like real news broadcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just don't like that as a storytelling device. I think it's really lazy in a lot of instances. I think like there's good moments where using that does help. I think like one of my favorite instances of using media to tell the story is near the end of Signs. They come upstairs and the TV is off the air. Like CNN is off the air entirely. And I think if you were to get up and turn on the TV and CNN and Fox News were off the air, you would know the shit has hit the fan.
Yeah, you definitely know that.
And that's just little environmental storytelling you get from that. And that's all I need to know, as opposed to like a reporter telling me exactly what I need to know in a movie. It always seems very forced and focused. And I never care for it. And I don't like it here.
All right, so this movie ratchets itself up with earthquakes. So there's a bunch of earthquakes that happen. Anne Hesh and her partner end up in a storm drain where her partner gets burned alive. And then meanwhile, you start getting the volcano that starts to erupt in the La Brea tar pits. That's, I guess, if you were to have this movie have a volcano, I guess it would be in the La Brea tar pits. But even then, it'd just be lava.
Yeah, you're really stretching that if that's what you're going to call it. It's just
like
really
a lava chute.
Yeah, it's flowing. It's a lava lake. It's not a volcano.
Yeah.
It just kind of flows up through there and forces its way downtown. Because like I said, I mean, that is what the movie is. Just really man versus lava. And
you have a subway car that's stuck in a tunnel.
Oh, yeah. I did forget about that.
Separate storyline.
So can we talk about that real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So what we have here is Drew Carey's brother from the Drew Carey Show. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's who that actor is. He's been in Zodiac. He's a fantastic character actor. And I'm very upset with myself for not looking up his name so it would look like I know who he is offhand.
Yeah, you should be.
Yeah, I just really don't. Yeah, I'm really ashamed of myself. Mm-hmm. But he's okay here. He has this sequence where they have to wake everybody up off the downed subway car and bring everybody out. But, oh my God, the driver is out cold. So he has to carry him out on his shoulders. And like it's going in slow motion, and he's
fireman
like,
style.
Yeah, like he's praying to God. So they're trying to play it up in the sequence. It's shot in that It's edited to be slow motion, even though they shot at 24p. They didn't think about it beforehand. You see him come out through there, and there's no chance that he just dives into the lava and throws the guy to safety. Throws him like 15 feet off his shoulders while he's in the lava. And the lava eats him like fucking Mario in a goddamn video game. Just sucks him down like the lava. And I after the scene was over, I was like, how quickly would a human melt in lava? So I looked this up, and first of all, lava's not going to melt your bones. It will eventually destroy them over time, but it won't just like instantly burn you up like molten, like you would see in like Terminator 2. It's not like that. So
you're not made of metal.
Yeah, it's very, you would melt at different rates. Like your flesh is gone before the bone and stuff like that. You wouldn't just nicely and calmly sink into the lava. The scene has made me chuckle for years, and I enjoyed when we got back to it. I got to laugh at it again. So I guess in that respect, I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
But in reality, like it's a cheesy ass fucking scene.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, that's the movie's problem, is there's a lot of like legitimate hero worship that is just cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of it in the movie. And oh my God, like the racial stuff is incredibly cringe. Like, I don't know if you're going to get to that later, but
yeah,
I just got to mention it like right now. Like there is a black man. His community is destroyed by the lava. Like the house is just wiped out. And by the way, it was also another ridiculous sequence because the lava is in the house chasing the dog. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
And the lava just stays on the wood. Never burns through it. Just stays on the wood, hovering through the house. Lava burns through everything else, but not this wood. The lava really is very much a victim of the screenplay, just hanging out where it can in certain parts.
Yeah.
But it's he goes to basically try to get help, and a cop hassles him because, you know, he's an uppity black guy. So I guess how the police officer would look at him. And like over time, he grows to accept him in what is probably like the cheesiest way and form possible. Correct?
Yeah.
It's so cringe that they want to shove like a racial harmony message in there into this movie without really doing any of that
so
work.
Forced.
Yeah, without really doing any of that work. They're like, you know what, this kind of situation can bring people together. But they literally take the time to draw attention to the small bit of work they are doing to talk about racial tensions being eased. It's so laughable. It really is.
Yeah.
It's so laughable.
It's not even needed, man.
Yeah, like the very end with the kid, like, everyone looks the same. Like, I was like, oh, God. Just, you know, listen, like, you know, Volcano is, you know, it's blockbuster cheese. And that's all it could ever be. But, like, that's what holds this movie back, is that the legitimate moments of that hero worship, because it just falls so fucking flat.
So, you want to know what the lava was made out of?
Tell me.
Methyl cellulose. It's the same thickening agent you find in milkshakes.
So I could have drank the lava, is what you're telling me?
You could probably eat the lava.
Could I?
Yeah.
Last time I was somewhere, I tried to eat the lava, and they told me that was a very bad idea. So I'll try it if I ever go back in time and stumble onto the Volcano set.
The 1997 Volcano set. The ash was made of ground newspaper.
I do like the ash. It has a nice quality when it comes down from the air. We got to watch a really good print of the movie again. And I will say that is sort of the nice thing about doing this project here with you, is that we get to see a lot of films that I haven't really paid attention to in a long time. And sometimes you can see cinematography you never really noticed before in a movie you didn't really give a shit about. And this really wasn't one of those movies. I mean, it's a big budget Hollywood movie. Of course it looks good. But that was an element that I really liked in the movie, like that constant ash coming down, stuff like that, the way they used that for the lighting, and some of the compositions with Tommy Lee Jones against the ash. The cinematographer working really overtime when, you know, was a writing staff that didn't really do their job.
Gillian Anderson was considered for the role of Dr. Amy Barnes.
I would have liked that, but I don't know how much it would have helped. And Anne Heche is a more than capable actress. She's quite talented, but I mean, this role is nothing, right?
Her agent is the worst.
Yeah, well, I mean, this role is, I mean, tell me a character trait about her.
She's a scientist.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. She's a scientist, and she wants to save people's lives.
She cares about people.
Yeah, we don't really know a whole lot else about her. The movie can't take the time to really introduce her like a person, really.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the movie does avoid any love story between like her and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, thankfully there's
Yeah.
no love story.
Yeah, they don't really hint at it or anything like that. But as in a Hollywood movie from that era, you never really can tell because like 2 years later, she's in a romance picture with Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
6 days, 7 nights, I think. And like, I mean, Harrison Ford, he's older than Tommy Lee Jones, or just about as old as Tommy Lee Jones around that point. I had to take a look at who's older, but that's not really important. There's clearly an age difference, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that easily could have worked in this movie, and I'm glad they at least avoid that pitfall.
Other facts about this movie: the role of Mike Rourke was originally offered to Ed Harris and Bill Pullman, who both turned it down. And then Bruce Willis was also considered for Mike Rourke.
Yeah, I guess I could see that when this was probably like $150 million movie. What was the budget on this? Do you know, Meredith?
No, I don't have those numbers this time.
You don't have that number. Pedro, do you have those numbers? No, I don't have those numbers either. So let's just say it cost $80 million. I'm taking a guess right now.
I could look it up real quick.
Look it up right now while I'm talking.
Are you blather on?
Thank you. Yes, I call it podcasting, but yes, you can call it blathering on. The show's off the rails. So, that's the thing. Like, you can see with Tommy Lee Jones, this movie kind of moves down like a budget level. I think if Bruce Willis is in here, it's a much more expensive movie.
90 million.
90 million. Yeah. See, I think that's the difference. When Bruce Willis is attached to the movie, I think you could see this balloon over $100 million.
Yeah, definitely.
It's because it's not so much. I mean, obviously, it's a big time effects picture, but it's going to be a big time effects picture no matter what. You know, Tommy Lee Jones is a name, but he's not like a movie star.
Yeah,
even in 97.
But this is when he was doing The Fugitive and all that stuff, when it started getting really popular.
Well, yeah, and this is as high as it got. He got to be the lead in one of these. They're like, well, let's put him in an action movie, see if it becomes a hit.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, listen.
He was popular during this time.
Yeah, but Bruce Willis wouldn't have got this movie over the top. The late 90s were a rough time for Bruce Willis as well. All those 80s guys were. So I don't think turning to Tommy Lee Jones was a bad idea at all, especially in a movie where he's not really fighting things. He's just an emergency worker. What is he? He just oversees emergency services of the city, right?
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah.
It's not real clear what he does.
Well, he works for I don't know if it's a real
he just
organization
all of a sudden
or not,
takes charge.
Yeah, because that's what they do is they just manage any kind of disaster relief or anything that would occur throughout the city, emergency situation. And maybe it's the road department, maybe it is. I don't know. It's Volcano.
We apparently have never seen this movie.
It's Volcano, so we just were like, are we going to look into what this really is for our life? Nah, it's not that important. Like, if we're dealing with a movie where, like, Drew Carey's older brother is burning from lava in, like, 5 seconds, you know, we're not going to put that level in. This isn't like when we review, like, Zodiac in a few weeks.
So let's talk about some of the other action sequences in this movie, like when Tommy Lee Jones goes to save a homeless guy. And we have that whole
they put him on the ladder.
Fireman ladder sequence.
They put him on the ladder, and because it takes them so goddamn long to throw his ass up there, they can't reel the ladder back in. So they slowly like fucking move them right over all the lava.
Yeah,
like we're just over like 10 feet over all these waves and ocean of
burning
lava.
Their freaking legs out.
Yeah. And they do show a little bit of the rubber burning, but that's the thing. Like the lava in the movie is so wildly inconsistent on like how it affects people. Like sometimes you can be right up to it, as long as you're spraying water on it, you're fine. Other times, you know, far away things just burst into flames, so you can't really tell. And you know, that is another thing. The movie is a pretty safe PG-13, correct?
Yeah,
and they don't really show you a lot of people burning, a lot of big damage or anything like that. The gore is really kept to a minimum. Obviously in PG-13 you can't really do a lot, but you know, we see in Dante's Peak that there's a bit more remains in that one. I know in this movie there's a scene where firefighters burn inside their truck and you don't see a damn thing, right? It like cuts away awkwardly. For a minute I had to check to be sure we didn't have like the TNT TV cut, and it was the actual like legitimate theatrical cut. Like the lava just comes up to them and all of a sudden it just like the camera cuts away, like 2 firefighters have burned alive. That really weird sequence where the LA reporter just is there like narrating the entire carnage that's going down. Like he's fucking Chick Hearn letting us know what's going down in the Coliseum. Like it just, none of it, that was such a strange thing just going on. We have a man fighting the fire, people banding together. It just was such a strange thing to give us commentary in a movie like this. I mean, it didn't really help with anything. I mean, it just was another kind of odd decision in a kind of weird little movie.
Do you think Tommy Lee Jones is good at his job?
Like Tommy Lee Jones, the actor? Yes.
Okay, so do you think his character is
There we
good
go.
at his job?
I mean, he does kind of save the city, right?
Yeah,
He does kind of save the city.
by
So
directing
yes.
lava.
Yeah, to the ocean. That can't hurt anything, right?
Yeah.
Listen, you deal with the problems as they come up to you, okay? You got lava coming at you. You get the lava and you throw it out. And they threw it in the ocean, and there it goes. It's gone forever. No problem. He is the hero of the day. They should build a statue to this guy right in front of where the Lakers play. Staples Center.
Yeah. So the movie does tend to slow down a lot at times. Like it'll have like
Oh, does it now?
yeah, it'll have like moments of some chaos and some interesting moments, and then it'll just slow down.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. So I thought that was a real negative point about this movie is how much it kind of is inconsistent in its pacing.
Well, I think one of the things you see in the movie is that it kind of has multiple finales. And what I mean by that is there is the whole fight in Beverly Hills trying to slow down all that lava. And like when that comes to an end, like the movie has to take a breath for a second and then come right into telling basically another story about lava attacking the medical center, correct?
Yeah.
And we're basically put into the same stakes again. So nothing really changes. We just get reintroduced to a new narrative in a different place. So I think that's one thing that kind of hurts it because after we start the second one, which granted does have a different finale, the characters, they bring down a building to try to stop it. So it has a bigger set piece, which is nice, but it's still not amazing just for the simple fact of the way they do it, you know?
Yeah, that's basically their biggest bright ass plan is to take a building down and divert the lava to the ocean. Which
is a it's a nice effect. I'll be honest. Obviously the screenplay had some issues because they try to beef it up by having that random kid walk out there and Tommy Lee Jones' daughter have to be out in that as well.
Yeah.
So he has to have a running sequence where he outruns the explosion.
And he's running forever. It's like those jokes you see in like Family Guy or something.
Yeah, it really is. He's running for like 6 years trying to get to his daughter, and he grabs them and puts them in the only safe spot in the whole city that you can be okay from the explosion. He knew exactly where to go.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he's an engineer.
Yeah, as I was watching, I was like, is he just going to die out there with him? Is that the whole plan? Like, yes, let's die together.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want to face your mother. So he goes out and he does that. And like I said, that brings the movie to a conclusion, but we still don't get a different set piece than what we had before, really, which is unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah.
It's still him battling lava and trying to send it somewhere else, not something different. No, the stakes really didn't get upped other than his daughter was in danger. That's the only way they could find to do it. It's pretty lame.
Yeah.
It's pretty lame, to be honest.
Yeah, so that would make the movie pretty stupid, right?
In by every metric, yes, this film is incredibly dumb.
Incredibly dumb. I guess that's all that you have to say about the Volcano?
Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else to add about this Volcano film, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, because my last question was, what did you think about the ending? And I think we've covered that the ending sucks.
Yeah, we very much did. You know, it's a movie I've seen a lot only because it lived on cable for so many years, like on TNT and TBS. And, you know, I mean, that's its legacy. I've had this movie on in the background while I've cleaned my room, while I've cleaned the dust fan on my consoles. You know, there are so many tasks I've done and had Volcano on in the background while I've done something on a Saturday afternoon. That's its legacy to me. I mean, it's just background noise. It's the highest acclaim I can give it. And to me, it's kind of all the movie deserves. It's dumb. It's not particularly memorable. And the effects are passable for 1997.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we have Dante's Peak.
Oh, was that the second movie?
Yeah, that's.
Oh man,
this movie I really like.
This is the Volcano. I'm screwed.
I like this movie. It's got so much charm and it's just so much fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think my wife might be the first Dante's Peak mark.
Yeah, I really like this movie.
Yeah, you do really dig this film.
Anytime that it's on, that I will watch it.
So as a contrast to Volcano, which, you know, very much does everything it can to make sure the stakes don't go too high. This movie starts off pretty seriously.
This movie ratchets up.
Well, I think I was really caught by the opening sequence with them driving away from the eruption, and it's Pierce Brosnan and his girlfriend, correct?
Yeah.
And they're racing away, as things are, hitting the fan, lava, there's comets flying out.
We're stuck in another devastating volcano.
Yeah, and basically, as they make their way out, as he's desperately driving his truck to get away, his girlfriend is struck in the head by a falling, flaming piece of lava or rock, and it instantly kills her.
Yeah.
And Pierce Brosnan plays it so well, like he's driving, and he just stops to grab her. He's like, "Oh God, nah!" Much better than that. So, as badly as I did that, imagine what a professional actor would do with that. And he does such a great job, like just because you usually cut away from like screams of like agony and remorse and stuff like that, because it can be just like I did. It can be over the top, and Pierce Brosnan just kind of nails it, like it's no big fucking deal.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
But he's a good actor.
He is a good actor. He's underrated.
Yeah, this movie has good actors.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton, are you freaking kidding me?
And Hamilton is better than Anne Heche.
Yes.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah.
Many, many ways.
Many, many ways. She killed the Terminator. She saved mankind.
Yeah,
Anne Heche didn't do that. The toughest thing Anne Heche did was date Ellen.
You right?
Yeah.
God, that must have been awful.
Yeah, I know. God, Ellen, public opinion turned around on her. So welcome back to our Fuck Ellen podcast.
We're not here to talk about Ellen. We're here to talk about Dante's Peak.
Okay.
And we do love this beginning sequence with Pierce Brosnan and his girlfriend in the volcano. It kind of just jams you into the danger of a volcano and how it would be in real life. Mm-hmm. And then we go to meet Linda Hamilton as the mayor of a small town called Dante's Peak.
She is she also runs the coffee house. I like that as well.
Yeah, she's a working woman.
So this is a better movie about a community and a disaster, correct?
Yes.
Because that's sort of thing about trying to tell
community.
A movie about LA. LA's a very big community.
Yeah.
Lots of different people. When you're in a small town like Dante's Peak, you have a better opportunity to talk about how it affects the mindset of the town more so than anything else. So I think that's a little bit more interesting in this movie. And I think being with the mayor, who's also just a regular working stiff in the town, I think really adds to that element of it.
Yeah. And, we get the backdrop of the town, and then we get a scene where two teenagers are in some hot springs, and they're trying to get in and get a little nookie inside of hot springs.
How would you put that again?
Get a little nookie.
Get a little nookie.
Nookie.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways.
Fred Durst wants some money now.
Yeah, right. They end up getting boiled to death.
Yeah, cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a pretty nice
gruesome
sequence. Yeah, because it just goes like, does it feel warm? And then all of a sudden, like the water's instantly boiling and they're just desperately trying to get out of it and then get burnt to death. And it's, eventually we do see the aftermath. And like I said, we didn't get that in Volcano. So it's something I appreciate here. I think it's a slow escalation of how things are done into the film. Because there is, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say the pacing is done well. It just
because it doesn't go too far. Because I think that's the problem is once you see lava in Volcano, like, all right, lava's here.
Yeah.
We got to move. And, that happens at like the 20-minute mark, 25 minutes. And so you can't really go up from there. So you don't have anything else except the lava. This movie, at least in the way it's structured, is you see the effects of the volcano waking up.
Yeah.
Then you begin to see some of the effects of it right before it's about to explode. And then you actually have the explosion later in the movie. So you're always building towards an event that's going to come. That's your natural finale. Something that aids this movie out immensely.
What do you think about the cast?
Well, I mean, we've sort of gone into it. I think Pierce Brosnan's underrated. I've always liked his work in the 90s. As a matter of fact, probably the thing I like him the least in from that era is some of the James Bond movies, with the exception of GoldenEye, because I think after GoldenEye, they kind of stink.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I think holds him back a little bit, is he kind of had to always really struggle with that element. And that sucks, but it is what it is. I will say that I do very much enjoy Linda Hamilton's output. I think she's always been an incredibly talented character actress with a lot of charisma and an every woman sort of quality that I like.
Yeah.
that she can portray and then sort of throw away when she has to carry the weight of the world on her shoulders as something like Terminator. She's a very versatile actress and incredibly underrated, in my opinion. Honestly, I just wish she'd gotten more work during her time.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, she's really good here, and she's really able to convey strength and vulnerability in this part as someone who, like, as a mother is concerned for her kids, but she's still able to zing her mother-in-law with, little things like, if you'd have just come down, we would have avoided all of this, which is true. They would have. But she's able to give just a little bit more to what might have been a paper-thin character with a different actress.
Yeah. Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton's character. I forget their character names. I'm so bad about that. I need to be better about getting the cast names.
Yeah.
But anyways, their characters go together to try to find the kids, and they find the kids, and then they decide they're going to go to the hot springs where those two boiled teens are.
Yeah.
But they don't know that there's two boiled teens until the kids actually discover it.
Yeah, they didn't know. She wasn't like, hey, you want to see two dead kids?
What a day.
And Pierce was like, yeah, you know what? I do. I was thinking about that earlier. Like, I wish I could see some corpses. That's not how it went.
No.
Excuse me. By the way, his name is Harry Dalton in the movie.
Oh, Harry Dalton.
Yeah, and hers is Rachel Wando.
Okay.
So there you go. You know the character names now. We will never use those names again.
Rachel and Danny.
So Steve and Annie go up to check on Dante and his peak. So she asks him if he wants to see a couple dead kids. And so they head up to that water. And he saves her son from almost jumping in the boiling water. Because the water is now like hundreds of degrees and it's highly acidic. So there's also dead animals all around the entire mountain, correct?
Yeah.
Everywhere. Just lying dead. And so he's saying like, hey, listen, there's gas releasing sulfur. It's destroying the wildlife. We've got to do something. And his superior isn't an unrealistic asshole about it.
Oh my God.
But he is a bureaucrat about it, right?
Yeah, his boss is totally annoying. He just kind of comes in, steps on everybody's toes, and then just is constantly undermining him, which the character says it himself, how much of a value Harry Dalton is to the team, but he doesn't respect him enough to like listen to what he's trying to freaking say.
Yeah. But listen, I don't hate that character either, his boss.
I do.
Because, I mean, he does have a point. He just can't go in there and say, like, dear God, Dante's Peak's going to explode. Because there's a lot of times when they just don't have all the facts in.
But we saw Harry Dalton in the beginning with a volcano. So he clearly knows what fucking volcano happens.
Yeah, but hindsight is 2020. He can't destroy that town and its economy just because that guy's got a hunch. He's not wrong either. That's important. Did it cost people their lives? Yeah, it cost him his life. And that's what I think is sort of okay in his story as well, is that he's like, I'm not leaving until
he dies.
Yeah, and it gets him killed. And like I said, he wasn't being like an unrepentant, like overly evil asshole about it. He was just like, listen, there's more to consider than just your hunch. Like, we've got to be damn sure if we say this, because if we do this, this town is dead. They can't ever recover from a volcano might burn your home. Right? That's kind of going to destroy your property value. So that's something that does have to be weighed. So I guess now that I'm older, I don't look at him so badly as I really did. If anything, I almost kind of admired him a bit near the end, as he was like, no, I'm not going to leave till you leave, Harry. And it gets him killed. So like I'm okay with that, weirdly enough.
Well, after you get this whole scene of, Pierce Brosnan trying to convince his boss that he needs to do more, the movie slows down slightly to have some great cinematography. What do you think about the cinematography of this movie?
So this is the one thing where this movie has it over Volcano in spades, is that like where they shot this, the way everything looks like when they're in that volcano.
Yeah.
And they're getting those samples. And there's a pretty decent sequence where a worker falls and breaks his leg and they have to get him out after a small earthquake. That's really fantastic. Like the way the gas is coming up and like the helicopter shots around the mountain. I mean, the movie looks fantastic. It really does. And by the way, this is my copy that I've had since probably 2004, an old DVD, and it still looked really good.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest. Like just the way the mountain looks and everything like that, how serene and beautiful it is, and to watch it turn as the movie goes on as, all these things that look so beautiful have now come this, this ash covered nightmare. It's really a beautiful thing they were able to take advantage of with their setting. And boy, do they really do it. The movie looks great. It really does.
I thought the cinematography was beautiful. It was done well.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that at all.
What do you think about the chemistry between Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton?
It's there. It's there, all right. We were going to chastise the previous film because if there had been a love story and there wasn't, this movie does have one, but we're going to praise it because it kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get along nicely. The movie takes time for them to talk to each other, for them to learn about each other. Like he puts her in a weird situation by immediately calling for the town to be evacuated. It comes down on her with political heat, but she knows where he's coming from.
Yeah.
She knows he's not some weird guy out there trying for glory. He's just trying to keep people safe. And that's what she cares about as well. But, she has to concede because there are other factors at work as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. They grow together through some conflict. And, they're just about to bone when everything goes down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she has to get her daughter some water. She gets cock-blocked by her kid, which is a thing that happens. And she gets the poison water or the polluted water to come out, and it kicks the entire second act into high gear.
Yeah.
And it really does. But, their chemistry works. And, it's enough to... Well, I never questioned why Pierce Brosnan's going with her or anything like that at all. She's ride or die for her kids, and Pierce is like, no, Harry Dalton is all in on that as well. And it's just who he is. So
yeah.
I don't doubt it in any way, shape, or form like I do in other movies. It's fairly well done. It's a better love story than episode 2.
So this last bit of the you get with the volcano and the rocks falling on the guy and then getting out of there with the helicopter.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the last time the movie really slows down at all, because now we get the volcano erupting and the town starts to crumble.
Yeah, that's what's nice. You do get that scene of tension, and then you get one moment to breathe beforehand where everyone's like, hey man, it was one fluke accident, nothing else happened, we gotta go. And then once they have one little warning sign that he was right, it immediately hits the fan. Everything.
Yeah.
And it just gets worse and worse and worse. I think that's when we start to see a body count build up, because this decision not to evacuate the town is an utter disaster, correct?
Yeah, they evacuate too late, so you get to see a bunch of cars falling, like overpasses crumbling and cars falling into like nothingness. And
yeah, kind of the carnage that was Toothless and almost missing from Volcano is here in spades.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people
dying,
get washed away, and not necessarily implied either in a lot of shots. People just either engulfed by flames, or a lot of people are washed away by the water that comes down as well. I like that sequence in the river.
Yeah.
Where he has the snorkel in his engine. He's trying to get away. The bridge comes down. People collapse on that. That's another interesting and harrowing sequence. That's all pretty well done, to be honest. This movie is far more serious, but it is able to pull it off.
Meanwhile, while all this is happening, you have Linda Hamilton's kids took the truck to get grandma because she wouldn't come off the mountain.
Yeah. Their grandmother, that's Linda Hamilton's mother-in-law, very stubborn woman. She doesn't want to come down. She's willing to burn with her home without understanding the danger of it. And, that's something that's a realistic thing. People would choose to be like, no, it's not going to be that bad. I've ridden a bunch of stuff out before. I'm just going to stay with my home. Your parents almost got themselves killed in that hurricane a few years ago.
Yeah.
Very similar logic. Yeah. They stayed in the house, and they're lucky their house didn't collapse on them.
Thank God.
Yeah. The noises they said that house made from the wind hitting it were intense. So, it could have come down, and it's a very similar situation. People like that can downplay anything, and it can cause them to get killed. But in this situation, it's worse because it caused her grandkids to drive up the mountain to try to go save her. And they get to her, thankfully, but sadly, the road's impassable, as we find out when her mother and Harry try to go and rescue them. The road becomes impassable behind them when trees fall. They have to work their way out. And it gives us probably In my opinion, the movie's most memorable scene, and that is their escape and the lake of acid.
Yeah. Ruth's refusing to leave was inspired by true events. A man named Harry R. Truman refused to come off the mountain during the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980.
Yeah, I've seen.
They never found him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. So, I mean, that's just the way people are. Like, even in the face of absolute, certainty, they'll say, no, it's not going to happen, I believe. And, it'll end up getting them killed, sadly.
It's raining ash. Lava's coming off the mountain. How do you feel about the stakes of the movie?
Oh, I just love how they continue to go up and they, out of the frying pan and into the fire,
Yeah.
Like it's that every sequence, because I guess we're going to talk about it, like that the lava comes from them, force them out of the house. They have to run, get on the boat, and immediately jump into it.
They have more stakes.
Yeah, they're in a lake full of acid. It's great because they look around, the fish are dead, and it occurs to Pierce Brosnan. It's so quiet on the lake. You can just hear the propeller going until it dies, and he brings it up, and the acid ate through the propeller.
Yeah.
And it's, they're just dead in the water. And he wraps his hand in his jacket, and he's struggling to try to push the boat. He can see the shore, but they're not close enough to get there. And it's a great sequence where the grandmother jumps out and pushes them to shore while the acid just burns through her legs.
Mm-hmm.
It mortally wounds her. And I mean, it's in a really well done sequence, the way it's laid out, the way it's set up previously, the way we're given visual elements to show us how dangerous the water is, the slowly rising level of it. I mean, it might seem like simple stuff, but the way it's all done perfectly, and also the way it thematically ties up things with the grandmother and her storyline with her grandkids and her daughter-in-law.
She saved their lives after they could have lost theirs.
She selfishly thought about her own home.
Yeah.
And the ways that she's stuck in as opposed to her family, and almost got them killed, and was able to make amends for that, and able to make amends with her daughter-in-law, which is also a nice thing to see. It works out pretty well. The movie mostly avoids cheese except for that one sequence where they save the dog.
Yeah.
But you always got to save a dog in the 90s. You couldn't get away with a disaster movie that doesn't have a sequence where you save a dog. It's just how it works. Sorry, guys.
Do you think the volcano is a character in this movie?
Yeah, well, this is a man versus nature story, so definitely. Like, like the way I was talking about it, like it's just building up. She's just clearing her throat. Like there's lines like that in the movie, and that certainly leads to it being a character. Like it just continues to get more intense and builds up until it finally just, literally explodes all over our characters and almost kills them. And even then, once we have that moment, they still have to survive a little bit more.
Yeah.
This volcano is definitely a character in this movie.
Okay, and then you have your closing sequences here. They escape into a mine after a black plastic cloud destroys a town all around them. They go back into town to get this device called the elf, and it's supposed to help people locate them. So Pierce Brosnan's character, Harry, was thinking ahead in this instance. He wanted to bring this thing with him in case they got stuck somewhere, which they did. They got stuck in a mine, which is smart. You want to be in a mine when all that crap's happening because... Yeah,
it's the only place you could ever possibly survive. Yeah. We were set up with the elf earlier in the movie, showing what it does and what it could be used for. So it's more good screenwriting. Real simple things like that, make you feel like when you watch a movie, if you pay attention, you're rewarded for paying attention.
Yeah.
Things like that. So it's another thing that makes this a higher quality film than Volcano.
And because of their actions going into the mine, they live.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty well done. Like, I like the claustrophobia of him almost crushed by the car, his hope almost extinguished, but then he hears beep, beep, beep. He's like, okay, well, I got a shot. It's a small one, but at least I got a shot.
Yeah.
And, and it gets him out of there. And I think that's really well done. The happy ending put on it is sort of how it would go in the media, right?
Yeah.
If you were able to pull like a family alive out of that kind of disaster, you'd definitely be able to put like at least one little happy exclamation point on a big tragic story like that.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way the movie is done. Like it has a pretty realistic tone for a movie like this, to be honest, a disaster flick. And, I know with a lot of people who wanted, the big bombastic over the top kind of movie, like they didn't care for it because the movie does slow down to do this dramatic bit. But for me, it worked. I know for you're the biggest mark in the world for it. It definitely did work.
Yeah.
I've always preferred this one Definitely over Volcano, hands down. And even now,
It's just a lot of fun. It's a good disaster movie.
yeah,
In a genre, disaster movies just aren't very good in general, but you can take some love out of them, and especially if there's some lightheartedness to them. And there is definitely in this movie, and it's just got a lot of charm in spades.
yeah, yeah. And I think that the character work it takes time to do to slow down for that Volcano jettisons is something that is to this movie's benefit 100%. Because you care about what's happening with these characters when everything comes down, when the lava and the ash are raining down. Even character work in the sub characters, like the one of my favorite little stories is the helicopter pilot who extorts them for more money.
Yeah.
When the guy's hurt, he's trying to get people out of the town at like $5,000 a head, and he gets ash in his engine and goes down while the character you were just deriding earlier is like begging him, no, don't fly. You'll never make it. You'll never make it. And he eventually ends up crashing. Like little things like that, like that pays off into something.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the work that's the work you see in a good screenplay. And it helps. So it certainly helped with me. I enjoyed this movie more than probably I have in a solid 10 years. Cause it's the first time I've sat down to actually really watch it and not just kind of catch it on Sci-Fi Channel on a lazy Saturday or a Wednesday when I'm home sick for some reason.
Final thoughts on this movie. All the crater scenes, so all the cinematography was shot on Mount St. Helens.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love the look of it. Watch the movie for that alone.
The other thing is most of this movie was done with practical special effects.
I think the only time you really catch any CG is the lava coming through the grandmother's house, really.
Yeah.
And even that doesn't look too bad. Even now, it looks perfectly fine for the era.
All right. So do you have anything else you want to say about Dante's Peak?
No, I think we've kind of covered it all, to be perfectly honest. So,
all right, let's go through reviews.
All right, let's do it.
Dante's Peak got a 4.1 user review, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I thought was really low.
Yeah, no, a lot of people really don't care for the movie. You're in a bit of a minority here.
I guess I am.
Yeah.
Volcano got a 4.1 user review, 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, 5.5 on IMDb. And Dante's Peak got a 6 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah, okay.
So for some reason, Volcano has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score, which I don't get. But they both have the same user review. So Volcano is such an inferior movie.
I think people really enjoy that aspect of it, that it is cheesy. I think people like that more.
Maybe.
Listen, I'm just telling you what I believe it is, because I felt this way in 97 as I do now.
All right. So here is a 1-star review from Dante's Peak. Near a picturesque little town in the American West, an inactive volcano decides to become hyperactive. And as you would expect for a disaster movie, chaos ensues. The film's first half equates viewers with the two main characters played by Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton. We also get introduced to the town and get a tour of its main attraction, the photogenic mountain that is about to wake up. The second half is the chaos. For people who like action films, Dante's Peak is a fairly good choice. The visuals, the sound, and the special effects are reasonably engaging. There's lots of exciting drama, and the film's second half is fast-paced. But if you are looking for a credible story, go elsewhere. The formulaic screenplay is bland and unimaginative and is full of cinematic cliches. Of course, that is the problem with most films in the disaster genre. The stories and plot elements are basically the same, just different disaster. Tornado, burning skyscraper, sinking ship, earthquake, or volcano. I would say Dante's Peak is a film disaster, but its screenplay is so cookie-cutter as to be a virtual clone of every disaster film that has gone before it.
All right. That's pretty apt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can really argue with too much that guy might have to say, to be honest, yeah. No, I mean, I identify with it. I get it, so.
Do you have anything that you would want to say?
I think you know that I do. Mr. Ebert was alive and kicking in the 90s and tearing blockbusters apart. And trust me, he made no exemption with Volcano. Yeah, he reviewed Volcano and he gave it 1.5 stars to kind of let you know already where we're at, not starting out so strong. Roger Ebert says, I expected to see a mountainous volcano in Volcano, towering high over Los Angeles. But the movie takes place at ground level. It's about how lava boils out of the La Brea tar pits and threatens a stretch of Wilshire Boulevard, and then takes a shortcut through the city sewer system. The ads say the coast is toast, but maybe they should say the volcano is Drano. This is a surprisingly cheesy disaster epic. It said that Volcano costs a lot more than Dante's Peak, a competing volcano movie released 2 months earlier. That's right, just 2 months between these movies, guys. But it doesn't look it. Dante's Peak had better special effects, a more entertaining story, and a real mountain. Volcano is an absolutely standard assembly line undertaking. No wonder one of the extras is reading a paperback titled Screenwriting Made Easy. I even pointed that out to you at the time.
Yeah.
The movie stars Tommy Lee Jones, professional as always, even in this flimsy story, as the chief of a city's Office of Emergency Management. He races through the obligatory opening scenes of all disaster movies: everyday life, ominous warnings, alarms sounded by hero scientists, warnings poo-pooed by official muckety-mucks, etc. Soon, manhole covers are blowing sky-high, subway trains are being engulfed by fireballs, and lava bombs are flying through the air and setting miniatures on fire. The lava keeps flowing for much of the movie, never looking convincing. I loved it when the firemen aimed their hoses way off screen into the middle of the lava flow, instead of maybe aiming them at the leading edge of the lava, which they couldn't do because the lava was a visual effect and not really there. I also chortled at the way the scientist warns that the first eruption is not the last, and yet after the second eruption, which it is in time for the movie to end, the sun comes out, everyone smiles, and she offers Jones and his daughter a lift home. Hey, what about the possibility of a third eruption? What about that story she told about the Mexican farmer who found a mountain in his cornfield? This movie has one perfect line. The city is finally paying for its arrogance. Yes, and Volcano is a part of its price. So yeah, he was not a big fan of the movie. Most critics weren't at all of Volcano. I mean, Volcano was pretty critically derided at the time.
Users' reviews weren't so good on this movie either.
Yeah.
Here's the 1-star review for this one. Hadn't seen this in a long while and remember having a good laugh, then put but little else on what the heck, and it didn't take long for the chuckles to hit again. So lava isn't really that hot or toxic. You can walk and breathe right next to it. People, helicopters, and all manner of vehicles are immune to the effects of volcanic ash. Thousands and thousands of tons of lava somehow obeys traffic laws and only travels in one direction down one street and can be stopped by a few K-rails and water. Electricity and mobile networks still work after earthquakes and lava flows. Army and rescue personnel always carry enough explosives and pneumatic equipment to bring a 20-story building down, perfectly at that.
Yeah, like I said, this was always my big complaint about the movie too. The poster shows a volcano and you don't get a volcano in LA. They cheap their way out of it despite the bigger budget than Dante's Inferno. And I maybe that to me has stuck with me for all these years, and I've never forgiven Volcano for it, and I've always disliked it more than Dante's Peak. But you know what? I think Dante's Peak's a pretty nice movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Volcano is just watchable background entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's it.
At least you know how these two movies shaked out, basically in 1997. I prefer Dante's Peak. I'm guessing by user reviews, people preferred Volcano.
Yeah, I think they do. I think they enjoy that cheesy fun, so it is what it is. Hey, sometimes you disagree with the public consensus, and that's why we're here to tell you that. I know you might watch these movies and think we're crazy, and if you really do think we're crazy, there's a simple way to let us know that, and that's carrier pigeon. But if you want to do something a little more modern, you could email us at grittyrebootcast@gmail.com. Did you know that got to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works too. We can also go with Gritty Reboot and on TikTok and Instagram. That's a good way to get a hold of us as well if you want to let us know something. Give us any feedback. We
always like to hear it.
Please review us in iTunes, in Spotify, preferably 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever, dude.
And like and subscribe. we really need those subscribers, so come on, guys.
Yeah, please. We're trying to make big bucks here, guys. We're still recording off a TV tray, for God's sakes. You got to help us out. All right, guys, we're out. See you next time.
All right, bye.